Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kayla, and if you're not new, thanks for coming back. Always happy to have you. If you are new here, I like to do a lot of book reading, writing, lifestyle content here on this channel, so if that interests you, maybe think about hitting that subscribe button, sticking around, hanging out with us, because we have a lot of good videos coming. Okay, there was a garbage truck on my street that was causing a ruckus and some traffic, but we are here and I am so excited for today's video. We have another installment of my books to read based on your favorite Disney movie or Disney character series. I've only done one other video like this on my channel, but they're so much fun and they're a great opportunity to show off my extensive Disney t-shirt collection. So today we have books to read if you love Peter Pan, the movie, the characters, Tinkerbell, Wendy. First, go grab yourself a drink, something to hang out with, a snack, whatever you want. I have some water here in my hydro flask. We have some books to talk about. I wanted to pop in and give you a couple little channel notices if this is the first time you're on my channel or if you've watched videos before, just so you have a little bit of an idea of what's going on. I recently was laid off, but I've started a new job. Very exciting. So my new upload schedule will be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. While I was unemployed, I pretty much was uploading every single day, but that's just not sustainable with a full-time job. So you can expect an upload from me Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of every single week here on this channel. You can also always check the description box to see what video is coming next and to find an easy link to my last posted video. Disclaimer though, the video that's coming or my next video is subject to change. Sometimes videos take a little bit longer for me to edit and I have to kind of shuffle things around in my content calendar. So that's an idea of what's coming. It may not be the next video immediately after, but it will be coming sometime in the future, so you can get excited for that. I am trying to think of what I want to do next in this series. I've already done Cinderella. That will be up here or here, wherever it is in the cards if you want to watch that video. I am trying to decide which one I want to do next. This video, Peter Pan, was actually the first list that I came up with to inspire this series. I think that Sleeping Beauty might be my next one, but I have to see if I have a shirt for it. So stay tuned for that. Now let's talk about the shirt. It says, think of the happiest things. It's the same as having wings. This is a Once Upon a Bron shirt. She brought these back a couple of times, but I don't think that they are available right now. I will link Bron down below, her shop and her YouTube channel. I literally am watching a YouTube video of hers right now. She's one of my favorite Disney YouTubers, Disney creators, and I'm a big fan. I'm a stan, if you will. Let's dive into it. I'll be honest that I didn't find a ton of recommendations. I'll be transparent about the ones that I haven't read, but a lot of these I tried to pull in my research, ones that I knew from memory and ones that I recognized. Like a bunch of books came up that felt very loosely Peter Pan. I've never heard of the author, so I didn't include all of those. Cinderella, there was like 50 books to talk about, and we don't have that situation here with Peter Pan, but I think I've pulled together like 8 or 9, maybe 10 books that I think I know of, I know the author, I've heard of, I'm familiar with. So I also unfortunately don't have a lot of these books with me. They are in storage somewhere as I'm moving again in a few short months, but I do have one. So I will put pictures up on the screen for you guys so you can see the cover and get it. The first book I think is a classic and you should read if you love Peter Pan, and that's the Peter Pan book by J.M. Barrie that the movie is based on. It is very different than the movie. It's a very different vibe. It's not as whimsical and nostalgic and magical, I would say, as the movie is, the Disney movie. It's a little bit different, okay? It's a bit darker, and I think the biggest thing in the J.M. Barrie Peter Pan story is that Peter's a lot more intentionally malicious and insufferable. It's the same kind of base structure of the story that we know through the Disney movie, because obviously the Disney movie was inspired by this book, but Hook is less of a main character and less of the villain, and honestly the whole time I was reading it I was kind of like, Peter, are you the villain? I didn't love the Peter Pan book. I honestly, I know it's canon, but I prefer the movie and the movie storytelling and presentation to the book, but I think it's important, or it's good if you like a movie, to understand the text that inspired it or the literature that inspired the movie version. The next book I have is Lost in the Neverwoods by Aiden Thomas. I know I have this book somewhere. Where, I could not tell you. I don't know where this book is. I do know that I have it somewhere in hardcover, but this feels like a modern interpretation or retelling or continuation of the Peter Pan story. So it follows Wendy, whose brothers went missing in the woods 5 years ago, were never found, that kind of thing, and that in her town children start going missing again, and it calls into question the disappearance of her 2 brothers. While this is all happening, Wendy comes across a boy lying unconscious in the middle of the road. She almost runs over Wendy, watch it. And she kind of gets sucked back into the town's mystery by finding this boy. I have not read it, but I'm assuming Peter is the boy that she finds, because Peter, who's visited her before, says that she needs to do something, or these boys or these children that are going missing are going to meet the same fate as her brothers. That is my assumption. I haven't read it. That's a recent release that came out in 2021. Another thing with these recommendation videos, some of these books are old, are backlist titles from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but you can still find them places. But Lost in the Neverwoods is a more recent publication. That one is also a YA, not a middle grade, not an adult. It's a YA fantasy retelling. Next we have Wendy Darling. I remember seeing this book in paperback at the bookstore where I used to work, and I saw the cover and I was just like, okay, sold. It looks like the kind of skyline of London that you see in the Peter Pan movies, like when they're flying over London, or if you've gone on the Peter Pan's flight ride at Disney World, that part of the ride where you're flying over the city of London, that's what it reminded me of. And I was just like, this is more of a same time period in London. Wendy has grown up, is a parent, is a mom, is a survivor, has been a patient. I believe she's a mental hospital patient, but I'm not positive on that one. Basically, Wendy's grown up and Peter Pan revisits her, but instead of taking Wendy back to be the mother of his lost boys in Neverland, he takes her daughter Jane. And so Wendy has to go back to rescue her daughter Jane and kind of confront this underlying darkness that's pervaded the island. We'll see about that. It does feel like a lot of these books are either prequels or sequels. Like, none of them are true straight retellings of the Peter Pan story in the time of the Peter Pan story, with the exception of maybe one, but the rest all are like either before the events of Wendy and Peter Pan in Neverland, or are very far after when Wendy has grown up. This next book is the one exception to this rule that I think takes place during the Peter Pan story, the plot line that we know and follow with the movie, and that is Straight On Till Morning by Liz Braswell. This is a twisted tale, okay? I love the Twisted Tale series. I feel like I'm always talking about the Twisted Tale series on my channel. It's been in my TBRs lately. It's going to be in a wrap-up coming up soon. It's going to be in a review soon. I've reviewed some of them. Twisted Tales. I try not to just bring up Twisted Tales when I talk about these videos and I make these videos, because I feel like that gets a little old and it's kind of a cop-out answer. Like, obviously, if you love a Disney movie, you're gonna love the Disney books imprint Twisted Tale, or maybe you won't. But Straight On Till Morning, it's a good one. I read part of it. I actually found it in my Goodreads today that I gotten through like 25% of it and then hit a reading slump. But that is by Liz Braswell, and the kind of twist to that movie, or to that book, the tagline for the twist is, what if Wendy traveled to Neverland with Captain Hook first? So the first time she goes to Neverland, Wendy is going with Hook instead of Peter Pan. From what I remember of what I read, that it's the same time period we're talking about with like Nana in London in the early 1900s, like 1800s. And basically Wendy's a 16-year-old girl and she is so fed up with her time period. Her brothers have all had the opportunity to go off to school, and Wendy's left kind of home alone, and her parents decide to send her to Ireland to be a governess, and she hates this. She wants no part of this. She's not interested. This is not the life that she wants for herself. She is a writer, and really the only escape she has from her kind of boring, sad, miserable life is to write Tales of Neverland, this imaginary place she's come up with in her brain and the adventures of the characters living there, including Peter Pan and the Lost Boys. Peter Pan had visited Wendy 4 years prior and left behind his shadow, which she still has. And while she's kind of figuring out how to escape this and returning to these stories of Neverland that she's written, Hook comes to offer her passage to Neverland on his pirate ship. There she learns that he has these really permanent, really dark, really evil plans to Neverland, to ruin Neverland. Her only other companion is Tinkerbell, and Tinkerbell's not taken too kindly to Wendy. I love me some Tinkerbell. Like, she's presented so sweetly, but like in the movie, she's such a jerk. She's so rude. And I guess that's no different in this book. She doesn't really want to work with Wendy, but they have to work together to save Peter, the Lost Boys, and Neverland. I definitely know that I have that book somewhere in storage. I've kept every Twisted Tale that I have except for Part of Your World. I need to rebuy it actually, because I would eventually one day, when I have a beautiful library, like to have a whole shelf dedicated to Twisted Tales. So I do need that one. I have it somewhere and I do plan on rereading it, just don't know where it is right now. Okay, this one is a classic. Like, I feel like if you were a kid in the late 90s, early 2000s, this book was for you, maybe even earlier, honestly. But Peter and the Starcatchers was a classic growing up by Dave Barry and Ridley Pearson. It is a series. It's a middle grade series, very easy to read. I read the first one a very long time ago when I was a kid. I don't remember a lot of it, to be honest, and I never finished the series. I think I literally only read the first one, but that is a prequel story of Peter Pan before Neverland, before Wendy, Captain Hook, all of those things. It follows Peter Pan, who's an orphan boy, and his friend Molly as they go on this adventure, this fantastical quest to save the world from evil. And there is a secret that they're guarding and keeping while they're on these fantastical quests. And we meet other pirates along the way and characters that are very familiar but not quite the characters from the Peter Pan story. So it just kind of is like set up for the world of Peter Pan and the storyline of Peter Pan that we know and love. I want to say it's like a 5-book series, but they are pretty quick from what I remember. I remember I devoured Peter and the Starcatchers, but I just for some reason never finished the series. This next book is also one I remember from like my elementary school, early middle school years, and that is Everland by Wendy Spinelli. I think it's a middle grade, but it could also be YA. I feel like I remember seeing Everland and Umberland in the YA section at my local bookstore, but I don't remember. This one I never read, but I had friends that did, and I'm trying to kind of puzzle together what this story really is, or at least what the genre is. It feels kind of like a realistic fiction, magical realism, historical fiction interpretation of Peter Pan, which feels like a lot. It takes place in London, and London is being like blown apart by bombs and being plagued by this sickness. It feels very World War II era, where London is being invaded by Germans, though I don't know if it actually takes place during World War II time. But it's more of a real life interpretation of Peter Pan. There's talking about bombing and the Blitz. There is this unit of the German army called the Marauders, who is captained by, are you ready for this? I had to write it down. Hans Otto Oswald Kretschmer, H-O-O-K, Captain Hook. And Captain Hook is also kind of trying to figure out a cure for this disease that's plaguing London, and he is taking children to run experiments, which is again a parallel to World War II. Makes me feel like this is a World War II interpretation of Peter Pan. And this girl, I believe her name is Gwen, and her siblings Joanna and Mikey are trying to flee from Captain Hook and try and stay safe and protected as London falls apart. In that process, they meet up with Pete, who is this kind of like dashing, daredevil, mischievous character, his gang of lost boys who are just kind of like child soldiers in London, and Bella, who's a sharpshooter. And they are facing up against Captain Hook and his evil band. Next, this is another Disney Books imprint series that I try not to include in these videos because they feel like cop-out reads, but I read the first 3, I think, of this series, and I really liked them. They share the backstory of the villainous characters that we love. I think I've said it before on my channel, but I love how Disney portrays and celebrates villains as complicated characters with histories that are not just evil for no reason. They are well developed and full-fledged characters. But we have Never Never, which is the Villains series number 9 by Serena Valentino. This talks about the rise and fall of Captain James Hook and his life before Peter, Wendy, and the Lost Boys in Neverland. It tells his childhood story of how he was a boy who unfortunately grew up and was just trying to fight his way back to Neverland, and in the process becomes this evil, upset, angry pirate that we know and love. This is the last book that I have to talk about for Peter Pan recommendations. Again, very much less, I think, to talk about than the Cinderella video, but still I think we have some good reads. This one, don't judge me, okay? Don't judge me. Judgment free zone. I have Hooked by Emily McIntyre. I am embarrassed to say that this is Peter Pan smut. It is a series. I haven't read it yet. I'm gonna read you the synopsis because I feel like I can't walk around with this book. Like, I can't take this book on the tee, right? Like, that just, I was influenced, and I was confirmed by a friend that at least this first book of the series is good. But it says, James has always had one agenda: destroy his enemy, Peter Michaels. When Peter's 20-year-old daughter, Wendy, shows up in James's bar, he sees his way in. Seduce the girl and use her for his revenge. It's the perfect plan until things in James' organization begin to crumble. Suddenly he has to find the traitor in his midst, and his plan for revenge gets murkier as James starts to see Wendy as more than just a pawn in his game. Wendy has been cloistered away most of her life by her cold, wealthy father, but a spontaneous night out with friends turns into an intense and addictive love affair with the dark and brooding James. As much as she knows James is dangerous, Wendy can't seem to shake her desire for him. But as their relationship grows more heated and she learns more about the world he moves in, she finds herself unsure if she's falling for the man known as James or the monster known as Hook. That's my dramatic reading of the summary. I gotta be honest, I don't love the dynamic implications of Peter being Wendy's dad. Feels weird to me. Feels not right. Feels weird. And that we're gonna end on that note, because what more can we say about Peter Pan after a heated romance interpretation? So that is all of the Peter Pan recommendations I have, or books I think you should read if you love the Peter Pan Disney movie, Peter Pan characters, anything like that. If you know of any more, leave them for me down in the comments, because I was actually pretty surprised that I didn't recognize a lot of the ones that I saw, but I didn't know if I'm missing out on a good one. So if you know of other good Peter Pan recommendations or Peter Pan inspired retellings or books, leave them in comments for me, and leave me a little like twinkly emoji, the one that looks like pixie dust for our girl Tinkerbell, even though she's kind of a wench sometimes. That is all that I have for you guys today. Like I said, I think earlier that my next one will be Sleeping Beauty, I'm pretty sure. So if you're enjoying this series, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a wonderful day wherever you are, and happy reading. Bye!